I've beaten over 50 games this year, so I'm gonna make this quick. You've read the title, you know what this is going to be. This list is going to contain everything I've beaten, sorted from the worst game to the best game. What I want to say from the start, this doesn't only include games from this year, this includes everything I've beaten this year. It also includes games I've beaten before, like I said, everything that I've beaten this year. So without further ado, let's just start. And the worst game I've beaten this year is Callisto Protocol. I played it together with my girlfriend. I hated basically every second of it. It looked pretty good, especially after the first 2 hours. It just got worse and worse and worse. The enemy design is horrible, the weapons are boring, the gameplay is interesting but very repetitive. And by repetitive I mean the final boss is fought the exact same you fight the tutorial normal enemy. It is very boring. The game that really thought about being last place as well is Sonic CD. Oh my god, I don't get how anyone likes this game. It is generally just so unfun to me. I am glad if you like it. I didn't. I played it the first time this year, and oh my god did I not enjoy it. Holy hell. It looks kinda nice, but the level design feels so all over the place, with everything just wanting you to not have fun. God of Rock is kinda, I was interested in it. It looked pretty cool, with the concept of it being like a Street Fighter type game, but it's a rhythm game as well, but it isn't really fun. It is very, I like a lot of rhythm games, so this is one of the most confusing rhythm games I've played in a long time, with me constantly having problems to realize which button I have to press. Also the music is kind of bland. It's every character is based on like a different music icon, but the music is all very similar and not really part of like these different genres, which would have been pretty cool. But okay, the game is called God of Rock, so it makes kind of sense. I beat it with like this one nun character, and I probably won't beat it again. It was kind of, yeah, lame. Warhammer Inquisitor Martyr was probably one of the most disappointing games for me this year, because I kinda liked it. I mean, I made an entire video about it, but it is probably the most boring game I've played when it comes to Warhammer games in general. Because I played a lot of them, especially this year, because like over the last 2 years I really got into Warhammer. And so I obviously also tried out a lot of games, and some of them were worse, definitely, but they were at least like made me feel something. This just made me fall asleep. Literally, I fell asleep 2 times while playing this. Sonic 1 is okay. I can't say we now reached the point on this list where we already are past the games that I generally did not like playing. But Sonic 1 is definitely worse than the games that came after it, except for Sonic CD. It was enjoyable, especially like the first few stages, but the later levels are not only not fun to me, they felt like they didn't want to be enjoyed. And the final boss can just fuck themselves, holy hell. Thunder Ray is one of the many blind purchases I make on my Switch. I like just going on it, browsing through the store, seeing what's new, seeing what's coming up. I saw this, looked amazing, amazing art style, cool visuals, music looks great, it's a Punch-Out clone, great, wanna try it out. Sadly, it suffered from a lot of problems, with it being like not really that enjoyable due to a lack of clarity. With it, I mean, the art style is amazing, the fights were fun, but when I play Punch-Out, I don't have the same problems I have with this game's combat, if that makes sense. It just lacks. I think the problem that I personally have is I have problems realizing what button I have to press to not get hit, and I don't have this problem with, for example, Punch-Out on Wii. Ravenlok was pretty nice. I enjoyed my time with it. I downloaded it on Game Pass out of the blue because it had an interesting art style. It is super basic. It's a very basic, let's say, Zelda Light. With it having like multiple areas that you can visit, get upgrades in, explore little dungeons with a few puzzles in it. It's also a very short game, but for what it is, I definitely would say it was a fun time. Nothing special, but also nothing bad. I actually beat Super Mario 3D this year for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. It is definitely, I would say, the worst big Mario 3D game there is. I think every other 3D Mario game is better. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It was a great fun. I had a lot of fun playing this with friends, alone. Especially the later levels were a lot of fun, to be honest. Sonic 2 is everything I wanted from Sonic 1. It feels so much nicer to play. The level design is so fun. It is so cool to run through these levels. It is so cool to unlock Super Sonic, like to burst through the levels. If only the last 2 stages wouldn't be that bad, I think I would enjoy it a lot more. It would be a lot higher on the list. But sadly, the last 2 stages, and especially the final boss, destroyed the game for me, basically. But still, overall, it is a really fun and fast-paced platformer. Spider-Man Remastered, I want to love it. I sadly don't. I would want to rank it a lot higher, but sadly it has so many flaws in how it's designed, with it just being like a basic open world superhero game that we have had more than enough already. The polish is great. It is definitely in the higher tiers of those types of games, but it lacks in like content variety. With it already being a pretty short game, and then the most of the content still being, here's an area, go in there, beat up every enemy, do a few waves of them, repeat. And then you go to the next area and do the same thing over and over again. It's very repetitive, very dull a lot of the times. The story was a lot of fun though. I really enjoyed the story for a Spider-Man story. I think it's definitely one of the better ones. But overall the game lost a few points due to how I simply did not enjoy a lot of the side stuff. Thankfully, Spider-Man Miles Morales fixed a lot of my problems, while still keeping a few of them. For example, you still have these arbitrary challenges you have to do to 100% the game, or like get all of the emblems you need to upgrade yourself and unlock the suits, and I just do not like that. Also, the story felt kinda rushed, which felt kinda weird, but overall, it fixed a lot of the problems while still being a fun enough Spider-Man game. Etrian Odyssey HD is a very interesting one, because I know the series for quite a long time now, but I never really played them except for Persona Q2, which is like a Persona spin-off, obviously, with the gameplay of the Etrian games, and I also played the remake of the first one on the 3DS. And this is a remaster of the first one, which meant that it generally just looks worse than the 3DS game, because it is based on the DS game, while the 3DS game has like actual 3D models for enemies, better level design, new gimmicks. This HD version just has all of the DS things, with enemies not even being in the real world, and them just being PNGs in the fight itself, and on the overworld just being these swirls, which was kinda, I don't know. Especially for the pricing, I would have expected them to do a little bit more than this, but it's still a fun game. The balancing is kinda off though, so I mostly just played the game on the easiest difficulty, because I generally just got annoyed how often I was just completely stomped by the enemies. Luckily, I can already say this, they also remastered the second and third game, and the second game already is a lot more balanced, so it's less of a problem there. But especially for being a $40 game, they could definitely have rebalanced and improved a lot of the things that were already fixed in the remake of this. Crisis Core was just a really great time. I loved the story a lot. It was also the first time I ever experienced Crisis Core with the remaster of it. It was just really fun to see more of this character that I only knew from like this one flashback in the original Final Fantasy VII. So I just really enjoyed playing this. Especially because it is basically the perfect Zen game for me, with just having, okay, here are a bunch of missions, do them whenever you like, and here's the main story, you can do this whenever you want. So I basically just grinded through all of the missions before I continued the story, and I did this every time where I unlock new missions. Nice, I can spend the next 2 hours with that before I continue the story. It got kind of annoying in the end, because the scaling is pretty drastic in the end. But after googling for a little bit, it was kind of easy for me to get very strong in a short amount of time, which was kind of cool. One thing that I didn't like though was to get the platinum trophy, because there are a fuck ton of missable trophies, so I had to replay the game about 3 times before I got everything. Because after my first playthrough, I missed something on my second one, so I had to do it a 3rd fucking time. But yeah, I have a platinum. I enjoyed this game a lot. Secret Final Boss can shove it up their ass though. Fire Emblem Engage is a nice return to the classics, I'd say. It is a fun game. It's a pretty good Fire Emblem game. It has definitely better map design than Three Houses. Better, and I just really enjoyed it being more classic, with your characters having like the specific classes and you can't just make everything you want. That was pretty enjoyable, but I have to say, the game having this bad of a story really pulled me out of it, because a big part of me enjoying Fire Emblem games is the story and the characters. And I definitely would say this is probably the weakest Fire Emblem game when it comes to story and characters in a very long time. So I had a really hard time like bonding to characters, which I normally don't do. But like I said, it's still a fun game. It's still a very good Fire Emblem game, just with a problem of the story being kinda bad. Bayonetta 3 is also an interesting one, because it has a very similar problem, with the gameplay being really good. Like, I enjoyed the game a lot. It just has a very bad story. Like, it changes stuff that was established in the previous games, while also like just don't giving a fuck about its characters, and also not its setting. The setting is very bland. They have this entire multiverse thing, and all they do is like Bayonetta but different country, which is just like, why are you setting up a multiverse if you're just visiting different countries? It just feels like a lot of missed potential in the story and settings, and I wish they explored it more, especially because there is a lot there. The game, like the level design is pretty fun. Exploring the levels, going through the levels is a lot of fun. Fighting the enemies is a lot of fun. The weapons are cool. The transformations you have now are amazing. You being able to summon one of your like demons into the fight is super fun. I like that a lot. But especially the ending is so horrendous. And I literally just sat there in awe, just going like, no. Nothing of this is like, nothing that was done here felt earned. It felt so bad. Pikmin 2 was great. This year was basically me playing every Pikmin game again before 4 came out. So, which means, yes, Pikmin 2 is the lowest game on the list from all the Pikmin games, but I still just love it. It has a lot of flaws, especially in the later dungeons. It gets very stressful, but still, and I had a great time. It's Pikmin. Pikmin is great. Every Pikmin is great. I just wish the Switch re-release had more of the control scheme of the third game, because that just feels so much better, but still, it's a great time. God of War is one of the other games that I played with my girlfriend this year, and oh my god, it's still a fun time. It's kind of interesting how my girlfriend had a lot of problems with like its gameplay and its story, even though I was the one playing it, so basically she was just backseat gaming. And I didn't expect her to like have that many problems with the game, especially because she's such a big fan of like The Last of Us 2. But yeah, she still loved it, I still loved it. It's a great time. God of War, still a pretty good reboot. Still hate the name, still just wish they would have called it like Kratos God of War or something, instead of just calling it the same name as the first game on the PS2. But hey, everything else is amazing. Sonic Unleashed is so cool. I actually never played the 360 or PS3 version, so this was my actual first time ever to play this. I always grew up on the Wii version of the game, so I really wanted to try it at some point. So this game is basically the reason I got myself an Xbox Series X. And I'm not regretting it in any way possible, because it was a great time. The day levels, the day stages are pure Sonic fun. It is one of, I would still say to this day, it has the best 3D boost formula Sonic stages ever. Even better than something that Generations or anything. Not even the Unleashed project in the Generations mod comes close to how good this feels on the original, I'd say. And even the night stages are a lot of fun. I think they are I would say they are worse than the Wii stages, actually, because when we had like smaller stages, you had more stages, but they were smaller, and I also would say the gameplay felt a lot more balanced, because this game has a big balancing problem with a lot of enemies. If you just not really having like the abilities, like the setup to actually block effectively or like dodge effectively, but it still felt a lot better than what a lot of people are saying about the game. It was a lot of fun. I can definitely say this, it was a lot of fun. There were a few moments, especially in the night levels, where I was driven to like pure and utter rage, but still, even Eggman Land, even the dreaded Eggman Land was still fun to me. Skyward Sword HD is very controversial, and I would still agree with it being an extremely controversial title, because I always was one of the people that really enjoyed Skyward Sword. I still really enjoy Skyward Sword, but I would say the Wii version is a lot better. This remaster fixed basically none of the problems, and the one minor complaint people had with it was fixed by a $25 amiibo, which is so beyond fucked that I almost for that reason alone didn't want to buy the game. I actually also never bought the game. I played it through lending a copy from my cousin. But yeah, it was one of the few 3D Zelda games my girlfriend didn't play herself, so we played it together as well, and it was still a great time. The story is amazing, the dungeons are some of the best in the entire series. Like I said, the Switch version has its problems. None of the control schemes really feel that nice as they did on the Wii, but still, it was a fun time. WarioWare Move It was way better and way worse than I wanted it to be at the same time. It is a glorious return to form on WarioWare games, and I really love playing it. It is pretty short though. It is, I think, one of the shortest WarioWare games ever since the first one on the GBA, which is weird, but you can play the entire campaign in multiplayer, which was hilarious. Playing that together with my girlfriend again was an experience, especially because a lot of the minigames actually are cooperative. So there are a lot of minigames where you're like, one of you plays the minigame, and then there's actual minigames that are like, you have to work together to complete a task, which is really cool. The Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pack was finally finished this year, and it actually turned out pretty great, I'd say. After the first few waves, everyone was so dreadful about it because they generally just didn't look that great. Like they were just literal ports from the mobile game to the console, just like scaled up a bit so that instead of 8 drivers you can have 12, which always looked super weird when you looked at how much bigger like the viewers on the side were compared to you and your cart. But the later stages didn't only look great, they also felt a lot greater. And now in the end, after having like played all of them, I would definitely say this was a lot of fun. This is one of the heftiest DLC packs you can probably buy for that amount of money. And it was just a great amount of fun. This is now the Mario Kart game for most courses, and like I would say 75% of them are great. What can I say about Hi-Fi Rush that wasn't said already? This game is just an amazing time. I wanted something like this for such a long time already, like a fighting game, like a beat 'em up character action game type game, where you have to beat enemies to the music. So I was really excited when they announced it, and it just looks so good while also controlling so well, constantly dropping new enemies, new abilities, new characters. The story was a lot of fun. The music is just amazing from start to finish. I would say I wish would be a little bit more more stronger music. Instead, because the music a lot of the time can be very tame. But okay, I also listen to metal music, so... But still, this is one of the best rhythm games I've played in a long time, and it's also one of the best character action games I've played in a long time. It's just a great, fun time overall. I can only recommend this. Bright Memory Infinite was really cool. I think I can't say another way. It's a very, very short and cheap experience where you just go in, kill a lot of enemies, have a few cool boss fights, unlock cool weapons, cool abilities, slice enemies into two, just do a lot of cool shit, and then it's over. It's a very short and fun experience that you can beat in like 1 or 2 hours, and you're gonna have a great time. Fire Emblem Warriors Three Hopes is a very interesting spin-off to the Three Houses game. It is pretty good. I was very worried at the beginning because the characters felt very slow, but luckily your moveset very quickly enhances due to it having basically the same leveling up and promotion system as the main game. You can do a lot in it, and it also has the 3 different paths you can take, with them determining the entire like structure of the story, which is always pretty cool. The story is obviously a lot weaker, it also is less of a focus because it's a Warriors game. It also is just a straight up improvement from Fire Emblem Warriors, the first one. It is way better in its like mission design and like entire gameplay structure, I'd say, with it also having like more variety in how everything plays due to it just having more different types of classes. So I can definitely say this is a very good game, especially because I only beat 1 of the 3 paths by now, so I am probably going to play this game for a bit longer. Finally, Pikmin 1. The start of the best series on the planet. Pikmin is just great. Pikmin is amazing, I love Pikmin. Pikmin 1 started it all. You can feel that it started it all, but it's just a cozy time. Pikmin 1 was very cozy. This is also the first time I ever played Pikmin 1, and I have to say I felt less stressed out by the day limit than I would have expected, because you have to beat the game in 30 in-game days. 1 day is like 10 minutes. And I beat the game, I think, around 24 days on my first playthrough ever, and I got all of the different ship parts, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. Love it. Exoprimal. This game is so unbelievably much wasted potential, because I love the classes, I love the visual design, I love playing this, I love just going in there and shooting up a big wave of dinosaurs. It is such a cool game. They constantly add new stuff to it, but oh my god, why did it have to be PvP? This game would have been my perfect substitute for Earth Defense Force, but no, it had to be a hero shooter where you have to fight against other teams. And the best content in the game is where you fight together with other people in a PvE mission. But you can't just do these, you have to do the PvP stuff and pray that the RNG god is on your side so that you can do the PvE missions, because you can't choose yourself. It is so frustrating because this game could be so much fun and it just gets ruined by you having to play against other people. like seriously, this game is so much fun. I love playing it, but I always just lose interest in playing this game after 1 match every time I have to face other people. It is so bad. I hope you can see how much I enjoy the base game, but still putting it higher than games I generally just enjoyed. I just hate the PvP part of it. Mario RPG was a great time. You can really tell how this created the Paper Mario side series, because there's a lot of elements of Paper Mario in here in a like earlier stage that aren't fully developed yet, but this is just a very quick and fun adventure. The last few areas were kind of like dragging out a bit, but still, it was just, I loved this. This is just a really good, light-hearted RPG. Oh yeah, Warhammer 40k Space Marine. First game I've beaten this year and already a banger. Such a cool game. Yeah, it has a few problems, especially with you being able to still get damage while healing. And by healing I mean killing an enemy and then getting health back. It's just a great time all around. It's a very fun and very dull shooter where you just go in, kill screaming green guys, and I have a lot of fun. I cannot wait for the release of the sequel this year. Signalis is so cool. Oh my god, Signalis is the biggest love letter to Silent Hill and Resident Evil you can ever think of. It is such a beautiful and fulfilling experience to just go through this, theorize about what the fuck is going on the station, what is even happening here, and then just experiencing it. This game is an experience everyone has to have, in my opinion. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is amazing. Especially like the combined version, not only Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, especially Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It is such a cool game. Oh my god, the exploration you have in this game is amazing. I loved collecting the emeralds more than in any other Sonic game. I just love exploring these stages, running around in them, unlocking Super Sonic and then Hyper Sonic, bring him back finally. Mario Wonder was just a wonderful time, pun fully intended. I loved playing this with my girlfriend again. We had a few arguments, let's say it like that, because playing this game in multiplayer can be very frustrating, but still, amazing level design, the most creative 2D platformer I've played in a while. It's just a great old time. Spider-Man 2 barely made the list, because I beat it on the last day of the year. But hey, I'm not regretting it. It took me a while to start the game, but once I started I couldn't put it down. I basically did nothing the last few days but play Spider-Man. It was a great time from start to finish. They fixed basically every problem I had with the first two games, except for like a few minor ones. Like, oh my god, the Mysterio missions can go suck my most unwashed piece of my body. But overall, hey, this is probably almost the best a superhero Spider-Man game can be. And I really liked it. Again, also the story. The story was so cool. I can definitely recommend this to anyone who likes Spider-Man, and especially who likes Venom and everything that has to do with symbiotes, because they are very prevalent in the story, which was obviously teased in like all over the trailers. And I really liked how they dealt with them and how Spider-Man basically got affected by having a symbiote in him and everything. It was really cool. It was very, very well portrayed. Sin and Punishment was one of the most craziest fever dreams I had in a long time. I didn't understand a single thing from the story because it's completely in Japanese on the Switch Online service, but that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy my time fully. This felt like I was playing Neon Genesis Evangelion game on N64, but for some reason looks so good for an N64 game. This is the Kid Icarus fix I needed in a long time. It is way better than I ever expected, and it's a sin, haha, that we basically didn't see anything of this franchise after we release. I really like Diablo IV. I know I probably trigger a few people with saying that, but I really just like Diablo IV. I didn't really like it the first few seasons, but the later one, Season 2, really fixed a lot of the problems I had with the game. There still are a lot of them. My hopes are up again after this season, so I'm hoping that Season 3 is gonna continue that trend and just fix more problems and make the game better, because I really enjoyed my first time with the story, and I still enjoyed leveling up my characters. So if this game just manages to get better with every season, to keep me invested, to level up my characters, I'm happy. Shadow of War was one of the most disappointing games ever when it first released to me, because I just didn't really enjoy it. So I never beat it before it was recommended to me as one of the Necromancer games. See more about that in the future. But I really have to say, this is a lot of fun. The game takes a while to get fun because you have to level up a lot to really get like all of your abilities and have more fun at the game, because you're very weak in the beginning, but once you get a lot of cool stuff, you get so overpowered and it's so cool to just like slice through a huge army of enemies. It is amazing. It is really good. Resident Evil 4 Remake is everything I ever wanted out of a Resident Evil game compact into one experience. It is actually scary in a lot of places. It made my heart pump like no other game this year. It is super fun, super enjoyable. I had a great time playing this. Still have to beat the DLC separate ways, but oh my god, this is the definitive Resident Evil 4 release, while also not invalidating Resident Evil 4 still being its own thing. You can play these completely separately, they're so different. This is not the better version of Resident Evil 4. It's its own thing that fully expects you to know the original game. It's just amazing. Pikmin 3 is great. I love Pikmin 3. It's the same as Pikmin 1. It's a cozy little game with cool scenarios, lovely Pikmin. It looks beautiful. I just love playing this. The final boss is pretty stressful, but hey, it's Pikmin. I like Pikmin. World of Horror was so cool. It is a mix I have never seen before, with it being a roguelike visual novel, but man, did they pull it off with this. It is a beautiful experience. We just go around, solve mysteries that all are very much inspired by Junji Ito and Japanese folklore in general, but oh my god, this is great. Just play it, just go on a run, do stuff in it, unlock new stuff, do another run, see what happens there. Every run is different. It's great. It's a great story. Bowser's Fury is everything I ever wanted out of an open world Mario game, and I really hope they take everything they tried on this and make it an entire experience, and say instead of it being basically a bonus mode in the re-release of Mario 3D World, because it is really good. Yeah, that's all that I can say. They took Mario 3D World, turned it into an open world game, and they just proved to everyone, yeah, this can work perfectly, this can work flawlessly. Just do this again, but bigger. Angel's Gear is another mix of two games that I've never seen before, with it just being a mix of Dead Space and a Metroidvania, and it works way better than you'd ever expect. It is a very short game made by one guy, and it just pulls everything it tries off so well, with it just being, especially in the start, a very slow and hard horror game, with you slowly becoming stronger and stronger and it turning more into a Metroidvania. The atmosphere in the entire game just felt great. It is also super cheap, just try it out for yourself. I can really recommend this. Slay the Princess is another visual novel. This is probably the year where I've played the most visual novels probably ever, and all of them were just amazing. With this one, Slay the Princess, being one of the coolest loop scenarios I have played in quite a while. With it just being, you are the hero that has to slay the princess. You don't save her this time, you have to kill her. So you go to this cabin, and after that point, everything you do decides which princess you're gonna face off. And I'm not gonna say more. Play this, experience it for yourself. It is a horror game though. It is a pretty disgusting horror game at some point, so squeamish people, maybe watch out. Everyone else, play this. Metroid Prime Remastered is probably just a proof of concept for what Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be. For like just trying to work out how a Metroid Prime in HD works with its control scheme, its visuals and everything. But oh my god, I don't know how they made this run on Switch so well. This is way better than I ever expected it to be. Especially after it being rumored for like 5 fucking years. This is amazing. It is everything I wanted out of a Metroid Prime remaster. It looks like it just came out this year. The gameplay didn't age a single day. It feels like a new release. I love playing this. Endgame's kinda repetitive though. I wish they kinda improved the hunt for the artifacts in the end, but hey, the first 90% of the game was still great. So, now we get finally to the top 10, to the best games I have personally beaten this year. So I just want to make a small intermission and talk about games that you cannot beat because they are live service titles. I am playing way more Overwatch than I probably should. I always regret when I play it, but oh my god, I like this game, I like playing it. I hate that it is mainly a PvP title because I just enjoy this gameplay much. It's basically the same problem I have with Exoprimal, but it's still a fun time, especially with friends. Play this game with friends. Alone, you were going to fucking want to end yourself. It is a lot more fun with people. Also, I want to mention that there's one game that would probably be the lowest on the list if I'd actually beaten it, because I reached the last final boss, but I didn't want to beat it after that because the final boss is so annoying. Wo Long, I don't like you. I wish I did. I like playing your levels, but most of your boss fights, I hate them. I hate fighting these bosses. The final boss is the worst thing ever, because I hate it when I have to kill a boss and then instantly, without checkpoint or anything, have to kill another boss. So I'm stuck there because I can't like learn the patterns of the second one, because I have to remember the patterns of the first one, because if he kills me, I have to fight the first one still. I'm not good at this. And I also want to say that I still really just love playing stuff like Halo Infinite. The game just improved so much over the last few years that it is just so much fun. It is the first Halo game that I ever played ever. And I really am intrigued to try out the other ones because this is a great time. Just playing with PvP is super fun, super enjoyable. The battle passes are super nice because we can keep them forever, so I just don't feel any pressure to play it. So I just play it every few weeks or even months, play it for a few days, have my fun, come back sometime later. Yeah, it's great. Same with the finals. Game came out of nowhere for me. I have a lot of fun with it. It can be annoying as hell, but amazing as hell at the same time. Every match is different. It is such a cool time just flying around in there, jumping on enemies, playing with different classes. I hate that the battle pass is so slow because you're basically forced to do your dailies and weeklies, and the dailies and the weeklies force you to play classes you don't want to play, and it is so annoying to be forced to play a class that I do not like to play because I do not have fun. But okay, let's get to the top 10. Metroid Dread is probably the best 2D Metroid game ever. It is definitely the longest 2D Metroid game ever, and there are probably a lot of Super Metroid defenders out there that will say Super Metroid is better. I am going to disagree. Super Metroid is amazing. This one is amazinger. It is such a cool game. The combat is the combat just is so responsive and so snappy, with it just being very quick, very enjoyable, very hard. A lot harder than you would expect of a Metroid game, but I'm not complaining. The game is so well designed and so well balanced, you can beat it without getting hit once, which you can prove and try out yourself because there's a one-shot mode where you just die in one hit. So the game is beatable that way. The final boss is the best thing I have ever seen in my life. I wish he was real. We love Katamari, Reroll, Royal Reverie. I have no idea why this game took so long to come out after the first remaster, but it is such a cool, fun time. I love playing it. You're just a small little guy, rolling up stuff, you constantly get bigger. This is my cure for my ADHD. If I start this, I cannot stop. It is such a cool game. And the music is just amazing. Final Fantasy XVI is an interesting one to me because it's the game that I tried to use to get my girlfriend into the series. It's the first game of the series I ever saw. I played it together with her. I am a big fan of Devil May Cry, a big fan of Yoshi P and Final Fantasy XIV. I'm an overall fan of the series. I did not enjoy the combat as much as I wanted it to. The combat feels way more basic and bland than you would ever expect, especially if you look at it, because it looks super flashy and cool, but then you realize that it is super basic and basically relies on you just waiting, doing your weakest combo, and then having to wait for your skills to charge up because all of your skills are on cooldown. I don't like this. But overall, this is still an amazing time. The combat did not get all that repetitive. Like I said, I had my problems with it, but I still enjoyed it enough to want to do everything in it. I really liked playing this. It took me forever to beat because we just sometimes had like month-long hiatuses before we started to continue playing this. But when we did, we loved the time, we love the characters. Clive and Jill are amazing. The icon battles are still great. I don't get why people think Bahamut is cooler than the Odin fight because it was so much more epic in my opinion, but this is a great time. I'm excited to try out the DLC once both of them come out. I don't want to play just one half of it. I'm gonna wait until both are out. Bomb Bros Cyberfunk is the perfect revival of a long dead franchise. I am so happy this exists. It is an amazing platformer. You can probably say it's a skating parkour type game, similar to like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I'm gonna call it a platformer because that is a lot of the time what you do. It is kind of clunky at the start, but after just playing it for a bit, you get really into it and can do such cool maneuvers. It is an amazing time. The music is pure bliss. I still listen to the soundtrack. I can't get the soundtrack out of my head, even all these months later. Paranormasight is probably the best visual novel I've played in years. And that's a lot of it is because of the presentation. It has a very unique presentation. It sadly doesn't have voice acting. If it had voice acting, it would be perfect, but it doesn't present itself with, you know, the classic style of just having like the text box on the bottom with the characters standing on the left and right. It has depth to it. Everything has like a certain level of depth while still being 2D artworks. There's backgrounds, the characters actually stand in the backgrounds, it zooms in on the characters. The characters are very animated for being such detailed drawings. It is beautiful. The horror is so well implemented. It almost has jump scares without having jump scares, if that makes sense. It is an amazing mystery story, and I love playing this so much. I even think this is the game of the year for my girlfriend, if I remember correctly. Armored Core 6, another return of a classic franchise. This is the first one I ever played. Before that, I only played Demon X Machina, which apparently is the closest thing you can get recently. This is so much better than Demon X Machina. It is not even close. This is such a fucking cool game. I love designing my mech. I love flying through the levels. I just loved playing it 3 times for all the endings. The game has one of the coolest New Games Pluses ever, because you don't just play through the game again with your end gear. You actually go through it again, still have all of your gear, but there's newer gear and new missions, and in some older missions you can choose different paths now. This is the best way you can do a New Game Plus, and I loved playing this. There's like 3 missions in the game that are kind of fucky with the balancing, but you just have to just adjust your build a little bit, and then it's amazing again. I want more mech games, because this game is coolness personified. Thinking back to Tears of the Kingdom makes me probably not like it as much as I wanted to, because it has all of the things that Breath of the Wild had that made that game great, but it didn't really fix a lot of the problems that Breath of the Wild had. For example, with the story still being like told in a very bad way, or the entire structure of the game being basically one-to-one the same. It's still having even more croc seeds that I don't like doing. And in the end, I played this a lot less than I played Breath of the Wild, which just came from the fact that it's so much work. This game has so much content, so much stuff to do, with a lot of it just sadly being, here's 150 shrines this time. Oh, here's this boss you have to kill 50 times. And a lot of it just isn't really what I like about these games, until I realized I just don't have to do it. And every time I return to this game, I just completely fall in love with it again, because it is an amazing game. And as soon as you stop going in it with a completionist mindset and just play it for the fun of it, you have such an amazing time with it. I just still hope they go in with the next Zelda game to like fix a lot of these problems, because I think it would be better if the game marked a lot of stuff on the map. Because if the game would actually mark the bosses, for example, like all of the bosses you have to fight on the map, or at least the ones you've already beaten are automatically marked on the map, I think it would be a lot easier for me to like track everything down. So yes, I want this game to have more checklist stuff, because the checklists are still in the game as in any other open world game. They just aren't marked as checklists because you don't have an actual checklist to check them on. But the checklists are still there. So just give me a checklist in-game so that I can check it easier. And this game would be a lot better for it, because oh my god, it's so good. I mean, I think I'm already talking about this game more than any other game that I talked about so far, because you can do so much in it. I really fell in love with the building mechanic. At the start, I didn't really like to use it a lot, but after like I think 50 hours, I actually tried out a few things and started building tanks. And the tanks were so cool, and I just raided enemy camps with them, and I was invincible and just went in there and shredded everything. I had so much fun. This game is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. It only was possible because we were able to reuse the map and just basically have unlimited time. But it still has problems, and they hopefully are fixed in the next release. Asura's Wrath is the other game that made me buy an Xbox Series X. It is probably the best. It's not even really a game at this point. It is made by the same people that made the Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm games. So it is a very flashy game. It's basically only the high budget boss fights of the Naruto games, with 90% of the game just being a cutscene where you have to sometimes do quick time events. And it's great. If you look at this as just a cool anime you experience with your friends, this is an amazing time. The game is even like split into episodes. It actually has episodes. I think it's like 30 episodes that you can just run through, enjoy, have a great time, just see an angry dude kill gods. It's great. Pikmin 4 is amazing. It is everything I loved about Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 combined into one game with even more added to it. It is by far it is longer than all the other Pikmin games combined. It fixed basically every problem I had with the previous games, while adding in so many cool things. It is an amazing dungeon crawler. The just exploring and collecting experience is the best it has ever been. You have a dog now. There's a reason this game is on S tier in my Necromancer Games tier list. This is perfection. Yeah, my number one game of the year is a DLC for a game that didn't even release in 2023. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed is pure nostalgia for me, because I have been a Xenoblade fan ever since the first game released on the Wii, back when I was like 10 years old. I fell in love with the game back then, played all the other releases and re-releases after that, and this is the closure for the original trilogy that basically ends it and the entire saga it started. I can still remember the feeling of sitting there again with my girlfriend, because I also got her into the Xenoblade games, just sitting there watching the ending of this DLC and crying together with her, because we both were so emotionally moved by how amazing this experience was. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was already an amazing game and by far the saddest one in the trilogy. This ending made it a lot more bittersweet and a lot more beautiful. I am so happy to have experienced this over half of my life, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future. Thank you for watching.